Good evening. It's Brodie Good here from Alien Metals. I'm the CEO and technical director, so wear a couple of hats. Thank you for joining us this evening, and hopefully I can give you an update on the company, where we are, what we're doing, and obviously the future as well, which is probably more important to everyone concerned. So glad to present also a new presentation, which has an update in more detail, possibly to my discussion this evening. So, the strategy of the company has always been advancing multiple assets up the value curve in the resource sector. Our focus obviously is early stage or even sort of mid-stage exploration projects. We did inherit certain projects from Arion Silver, the company that Alien came from, but we've also added projects into the portfolio we feel are great assets, and we will develop them. As you see even in this image, there's some very nice high-grade iron ore popping out up in the Pilbara in Western Australia from one of our assets. And obviously we're here to grow the assets, grow the company, add value to the shareholders. And I'd like to say, obviously we're very fortunate to have a great support in our shareholders across the board. So our main focus is sort of in the precious metal sector and iron ore. Silver, as I'm sure most of you are aware better than myself, has had a great growth in the last over the last probably 12 months. I recall when I started with Alien nearly 12 months ago, silver was sort of pottering around $10, $12 an ounce. More recently, $24, $25 an ounce. And more importantly, a strong outlook for the future. Iron ore, even more so, one of the top performing metals in 2020, and I believe just yesterday topped $135 US a ton for the high grade DSO, which is fortunately what our projects are looking like containing. And furthermore, a great future and demand in the market from for example, the Pilbara region of Western Australia. So we look at low cost acquisitions of really interesting high potential projects. We look at partnerships. Recently our new partners, Capstone Mining, a mid-tier Canadian copper silver miner. Great to have them on board and working diligently already on our copper project in Mexico. As I said, the commodities, we like to focus on the commodities we know and understand, which again reflects on the team, myself, my colleagues on the board, but also the technical teams both in Mexico and Australia and elsewhere who help support and add that knowledge and skill set to the team. The portfolio, as I mentioned, the iron ore projects in Western Australia, Hancock and Brockman, very exciting. We've been doing quite a lot of work recently. COVID issues have not prevented us working in Western Australia. So that's been great. We've taken advantage of that. The Elizabeth Hill Silver, the mine that we acquired earlier in the year, and then the exploration permit around the mine. So we now have several core prospects with different commodities, lots to do, lots to get on with, and in a great position to be doing that now. In Mexico, we have the two silver projects, Los Campos and San Celso, both really interesting incredible high-grade, historic, sort of colonial time mines, but with huge potential that we are working up. And for both projects, you know, we're pushing hard to get our drilling permits granted. Again, COVID impact on the operation of the Mexican Ministry of Mines for issuing such permits. And as I just mentioned before, with Donovan 2, the copper, essentially copper gold VMS style project, just down the road from the Teck San Nicolas deposit, where our colleagues Capstone Mining are now working away with a great, we have a great earn-in agreement, you know, over $3.5 million on actual spending on the ground, prior to then working forward, you know, with resource work and pre-feasibility work and everything else. So really exciting, and means we can, helps us focus on other things. As you can see, the share price has had quite a run. The company, great increase from 12 months ago, when really not much in the coffers, and very sort of small market cap. Today, you know, 40 million market cap, some very busy activity, but as importantly, some really good major shareholders. Our recent placement, we had a sizable institution invested in that, which is fantastic for the company. It gives us sort of a cornerstone support. Shows, I think, we're doing the right thing, and we have we're driving in the right direction. And the placement, very important to now mean we're essentially fully funded through next year, and we'll have the capacity in-house to develop some or all of the projects without having to go back to the market, but obviously still using sensible, appropriate exploration planning, phase by phase, based on results, based on what's going on around us. So rather than just sort of throwing everything at projects straight away. So not changing our tactic, but great to have that ability to sort of dig into the coffers ourselves and fund our work. So the board is myself, Dan Smith, our non-exec chairman, based in Perth, which is great because Dan then can has a lot of contacts and on a day-to-day basis can cover part of the Australian aspects. And Mark Culbert brings sort of legal and business experience to the team. So I mentioned Mexico. These were essentially projects inherited from Arian Silva, but they're significant, we feel, projects. All three are the key projects, as I've alluded to already. Very exciting. This just shows the current work being done by Capstone prior to doing the maiden drilling, which we were hoping to start once they earned in. They were keen to do, as you see, more an infill, close-based surface geophysical program, just to I suppose dot the I's and cross the T's on the interpretation and the work that we've done in the past. Just to say, so far things are going very well. There's no weird anomalies being shown. Just more confirmation of targets for next stage work. The silver projects, I mean, I think this is one of my favorite pictures historically from 2006. You can see this gentleman almost in his Sunday best, but at least he's got a hard hat on. You know, and if you look at the grades, just incredible. I mean, you know, 1.5 meter wide vein, up to 2,000 grams a ton silver, and up to 3.5 grams gold, which is the core vein. And then the footwall itself, running up to 500 grams. Now, these are just fantastic mineralized systems. They have been mined to an extent. You can see this is the historic sort of outline of the mine on San Celso, where that gentleman was. This is San Celso. But if you see, 100 meters width by maybe 120 meters depth is pretty much all in colonial times they could access. Now, if you look at the grades in more detail, I mean, 1,000, 1,400 grams a ton, 500 grams a ton, just incredible. But importantly, still huge, the majority of material is still there. It's open along strike for several hundred meters, and it's open at depth. So we're very excited for the upcoming drilling that we are trying to, obviously, as I said, get our permitting for as soon as possible, and we have the funds ready to go. So it's like in the starting blocks, get that permit, make sure obviously we're all within, do it properly in terms of the mining code in Mexico, and start drilling and really prove up both projects. So this is the Los Campos, which is tucked in next to Endeavor's El Compas mine. You'd almost say they're the same system, just slightly offset. Again, Los Campos has over 2 kilometers of strike. As you see, a head grade of over 1,000 grams historically. Also very exciting. We're really looking forward to putting some drill holes through that as well. Recent more surface work, the underground access is pretty much finished now. It's quite a lot of collapse, but that's fine because we'll work with that. And then we have Elizabeth Hill in Australia, silver, again another silver project, quite a unique mine. As you see, again, head grade of over 2,000 grams a ton silver. So 70 ounces a ton. Must have been quite incredible to be involved in that project on a day-to-day as the material was coming out. But again, it's an initial resource over 4 million ounces, and reportedly only 1.2 million ounces actually extracted. So significant potential for remaining ounces in the ground, and as importantly, significant potential. And here is an example of secondary or third system mineralized systems along strike from the discovered ore body. Again, highly underexplored. A lot of drill holes put in the day, but not that effective. And the other, this is amazing piece. This is a nugget that was extracted from the mine around 1999. So in the midst of the mining, as you can see here, it was very recently being cleaned and sort of tidied up, and had just been weighed at, as you see, 144.5 kilograms, so over 5,000 ounces, and it is the largest nugget, silver nugget to be found in Australia. Has come from the mine, and we'd like to think when we there's the opportunity of finding a bigger one. So that keeps us motivated. And also a specimen like this it's not the weight of the silver that's the value, it's the uniqueness of it and many more that were extracted in the day. So big plans there. Again, with the recent funding, we have the capacity to, for example, do this initial trenching program. Then there's plenty more work to follow, but we have the ability to just get on with it and push ahead. As I said, results dependent. We have the new ground around, big license area, lots of different prospects and targets. Some have been drilled, some require drilling. They're sort of ready to drill. So there's nickel, copper anomalies, platinum group elements as well. And there's this association with the money intrusion, and of course the money deposit, which is, as you see marked in the yellow there, quite significant. And we have sort of other prospects related to that as well. So again, very exciting, everything in one place, which makes logistics, costing very good. I mentioned about the iron ore. We've just had some teams on the ground. The second team has just come back out. We issued a note on that yesterday. Looking really exciting, very incredibly underexplored, which is one of the things that attracted us to it. Also the sort of the hint of potential from the historic work done by BHP on the Brockman project, and also the Hancock Ranges project. Excuse me, chopping and changing here, but again, this had a sort of a hint of a prospect called Calgan that we liked. We saw and we thought that's got a lot of potential. And as you see from recent work, it's got a great amount of potential, and we're very excited about this one. We're excited about all of them, but this one is now our #1 priority drill target. Our POW is in application now. Our funding is in place. We're talking to drill companies. The team have recently done a scouting trip to just finalize access. So hoping in the next few months we can give some fantastic updates on from drilling on this one of at least 5 prospects we still need to work up. So very exciting. And this is the Brockman one, and you can see that again, fantastic high grade material. Recent work, 65%. I mean, grade is close to the maximum you can get. So it's definitely very exciting projects. We recently were granted an exploration license in Greenland that surrounds the Citroen project. We are reviewing historical work and what was done, what's there, what next stage, and actually looking at JV partners to push this forward. So our timeline, as you see, we've got lots in the pipeline. I think the other thing we don't necessarily have there, but is very important, is we are always looking at projects and being shown more projects to review and add to the portfolio. So there we are again, where we were earlier on. The Hamersley, so there's an exploration target we developed a couple of months ago. So there's some information on that. And there we are again, and another nice iron ore ridge up in, I think that one is Brockman. Looking very, nice, sizable, high-grade material. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure, hopefully, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that presentation, Bill. And it's time for questions and answers. And I've got to say, there's a lot coming in. There's a lot of duplicates. There's some that may actually be for you rather than for a different company. So let's start off, Bill. And first one is, can you explain more about the Capstone earning deal for Donovan 2 and what sort of upside remains for the company?
Yeah, sure. Great to have plenty of questions to respond to. So the Capstone deal earning agreement, essentially, Capstone sort of signed up to $3.6 million in exploration expenditure over 3 years. They have an option to accelerate the spending, which is fantastic. And along with that, there are certain cash payments to Alien. So beneficial in 2 ways. Obviously, we have a great partner with great experience working in Mexico, driving the project, funding the project. We, as Alien, actually get funds, receive extra funds that we can put into other projects. And as Capstone develop and hopefully as this project becomes something significant, they can increase their interest with further payments and funding for what in the Canadian system is called a preliminary economic assessment, probably sort of similar to a scoping study. And then for moving forward, pre-feasibility, feasibility, where both parties can contribute. But I think it's great. It gives us sort of, as I say, a great partner who are funding it, who are doing the work, gives us the opportunity to focus on other things, but we retain a good percentage in the project, free carried essentially.
Excellent stuff. Okay, the new funds you've just raised, what are they going to be used for?
Well, as I've just been explaining, we have several projects, all that are at a sort of key exploration phase. Essentially, drilling is needed on all our projects. So funds are already earmarked, as I went through, for the Hamersley, the iron ore projects. Funds are earmarked for Elizabeth Hill for initial trenching, some drilling, and then some larger regional work on the new ground recently acquired. And we have the two maiden drilling programs identified for the Los Campos and San Celso silver projects in Mexico. They also, they're ready as soon as we have the permitting. So funds are there to get all these going. And also now we're in such a great position that we have extra funds now in the kitty that as and when results dictate, we can do the next phase of work without having, for example, to go back to the market.
Mm-hmm. The share price, the company valuation have increased sharply this year. In fact, we were just looking at the chart, phenomenal rise. It did, 20 times, 30 times nearly. What do you believe underpins this rise?
I think it's been, it has been quite a meteoric year for the company. I think we've very much worked hard in the background, the team, to work on expand the knowledge and the understanding and the potential of the projects. We've selected, we now have 3 new projects that were brought into the company over the last 12 months that I feel, and I think we all feel, has added significant value. And I'd like to think the team, the fact that we're talking to everybody, we're out there doing as much as we can. People feel that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Regarding Mexico, have you been given any timescales for the permits in Mexico, and is COVID a factor in the delays?
Obviously, COVID's a factor in all aspects, in everything. We and I'm sure everybody, all Brad and Bert and Colin, who were speaking before me, I'm sure they've all had been impacted by COVID. It is a factor, has been a factor, still is in Mexico. Unfortunately, we haven't been given specific timelines or dates now that you will have permits in a week or a month. However, our team is working hard with the government, with the right people. And I understand the government is and the ministry are now adapting their systems to facilitate issuing such permits, because they realize that sort of it's slightly backed up for everybody. But we're doing what we can and working with all the right people to make it happen as soon as possible.
Yeah. Next one is Alien is a junior. Is there any concern that acquiring more assets on top of the current ones that span 3 continents perhaps is a bit too much considering the size?
Yeah, we are a junior. I mean, one day hopefully we'll be a mid-tier or maybe even a major. And everyone has to start somewhere. But we've got a great team, as I just mentioned, in Mexico. Highly experienced, working, getting on with things. We've got a great team in Australia. From the release yesterday on the iron ore work, team's just come back from a second field visit in the last couple of months. They're now sort of dusting off and getting ready for the next piece of work. And if we go to another continent, another jurisdiction, it would be based on the fact that we have the people, the knowledge, the experience to support such a project, rather than just getting to, just taking on more projects for the sake of it, rather than actually doing it for a strategic and with a well laid out plan.
Iron results look incredibly promising. In your opinion, is this now the crown jewels for UFO? And when can we expect the POW to be approved and start drilling?
Look, the results are fantastic, and I think again it shows we, early days when this was first announced, there was quite a lot of head scratching. Alien metals, silver projects, and copper projects in Mexico, picking up these iron ore projects in the Pilbara and Western Australia. They are, I wouldn't call them the crown jewels, because we very much concentrate. We don't pick one as the shining light. All our projects are important to us. All of them need to be developed. They're at different stages. We accept that, but moving forward, they all have the same sort of priority in terms of not letting one lag behind and being sort of dropped off the edge and forgotten about. Slightly, which I feel happened in the past with San Celso and Los Campos, which was sort of shoved in the drawer while another project was focused on, and fortunately they were still in the drawer, and we've got them back out.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, there's another one here sort of on the same kind of theme. Out of all the projects, which is the quickest one you can turn around and start mining?
Let's make it clear, we're explorers. We're not necessarily miners. Now, an option to mine might become a possibility in the future, but at this stage, each project is unique in any exploration field. Listening to Bert talk about the different stages of their projects, each one has its own challenges, might require more or less work on the ground depending on the geology, the grade, the metallurgy, everything else. So each project will just be evaluated at every stage of work, and maybe we find a mining partner. And if you think about it, Capstone, they're a miner. They're a very good explorer, but they're also a miner. So it's sort of, in a way, they are an ideal partner at the moment for us, because we're explorers, and that's what we're trying to do: explore, add value, add capacity, potentially get resources established, and then either we produce a mining team, or we find a miner who wants to go mining.
Yeah. Are you looking to entice a major into buy the Hamersley iron ore projects, or drill for a substantial JV or other?
Again, in this day and age, you have to be, keep your options open. So we're working. We've done some work. We're now planning our first phase of drilling. Sorry, the previous question was asking about the POW for the drilling. That's ongoing. Hopefully, very early next year, we'll have a drill rig there and start drilling. And it'll depend. Maybe somebody will come and knock on the door and say, "Hey, we like what you're doing." Maybe we'll decide, like some of the junior iron ore companies in the Pilbara in Western Australia, who are actually doing it themselves and doing it really well. Again, time will tell, but we'll make sure that we're reviewing and looking at all the options available to us that will give the maximum return to our investors, and maybe our investors will say, "Well, come on, let's do this. Let's drive this forward ourselves."
Mm-hmm. What was the 144 kilogram Nugget sold for? And there's lots of dollar signs there.
Yes, that's quite a beast. It hasn't actually been sold, as far as I'm aware. It's a specimen that is held by somebody who I understand was involved in the original mining at Elizabeth Hill. But I think it's, to be honest, in some ways, it's more valuable as a specimen, as an example of it's something. To me, you could put that in the Natural History Museum in London, and people would almost think it was made from polystyrene and a bit of silver paint. But So it's not actually being over 5,000 ounces. It's more the, you know, it's like a true asset and a sort of something of the mining of that project.
When can we expect the program to start at Elizabeth Hills?
We are just yesterday. The guys have found me a nice big excavator. Again, we need a POW because it's invasive work. So by digging trenches, similar, obviously more invasive than drilling a hole, but you still need the you know, to have the environmental guidelines acceptable. So we're hoping actually that we can start before the festive season. You know, again, we have the funds available, we've got the plan in place, we've got the people. So it's going to be a little bit based on if the POW can be issued in time. If not, then you know, I should think everyone have a festive break and then hit the ground hard in early January.
Okay, well, let's finish on a rumor here. There's a rumor going around that Alien Metals has been added to the Morgan Stanley's MSCI Global Microcap Index. Can you please clarify?
That is, to be honest, the first I've heard of that rumor. It sounds very nice, but I can't, you know, I can't say yay or nay. That I can't really comment on that because I don't know anything about that.
Okay, marvelous stuff. Thanks for that, Bill. And we'll leave you there. You are in a, what is that? A farmhouse? It's a little pub there. It looks very cozy.
Well, it won't be the local pub, but we're still in tier 3 here. So yeah, it's no, well, I sort of, you know, it's my my man cave but yeah, it's just a very old building.
It's very nice. Bill, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll speak again soon, hopefully. Thanks.
Well, thank you, and I hope everyone has a very safe and enjoyable festive season and a much better 2021.
Absolutely.
Thanks.